United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Has everybody had a chance to read the minutes?
Yes, sir.
I'd entertain a motion unless there's some changes or additions that need to be made.
As written.
As written. And a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Then the minutes are approved as written. Announcements? None? None from this side? So Renee, if you could swear in all those people who plan to talk to us tonight.
All rise who plan to give testimony this evening. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do. Thank you.
Okay. Well, since we have 8 cases, we'll proceed directly. Kurt, are you about to do the first one?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, case 18-1088. This is a non-compliance case. This case actually came to the board on July 19th of 2018. Your order had them to come into correction by August 19th of 2018. Reinspection conducted on the 21st of August 2018 revealed that it was still in violation. This was a junk and debris case. As you can see, most of the junk and debris has been cleaned up around the front of the yard. There's still an old boat laying out there, and there's still some right behind the gate. There's some stuff behind the gate that's, like appliances and whatnot that they still need to get rid of yet. They're very close, but not there yet.
Where was this? Where was the location?
This was on 553 Majestic Boulevard.
That's the one.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
up in
in Defuniak.
Defuniak. It's actually out towards Mossy Head, up near where the Dollar General is in Mossy Head, up in
And
that
what,
area.
your recommendation, do you make a recommendation in this case?
No, sir, this is just a non-compliance hearing. The board already ordered
So we just have to agree with you that it's a
that
non-compliance?
it's non-compliant, so that the fines will start accruing on the property.
Okay.
Correct.
Is Donald Clower here? Or anyone representing Mr. Clower? Well, then, if not, I guess, Renee, what do we do? Make a motion to,
A motion to accept the order, but you also need to accept his testimony.
Oh.
and affidavit.
okay, to accept it into evidence? Okay.
When was the picture made?
This photo was taken this morning.
Any other photographs?
Not up for the non-compliance, no.
Jeez.
Okay, well, I'll accept it into evidence. Does someone want to make a motion then? Victor?
I'll make a motion that we accept the officer's recommendation that they're still in non-compliance and start accruing the fine.
Is that the correct way to make it, or does he,
I believe so.
that'll work?
Yeah.
And you second it?
Yeah, I'll say.
All right, all those in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Are you case number 2 as well?
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, and for the record, my name is Kurt Rose, Code Enforcement Officer. Forgot that in the beginning. My apologies. All right, case 18-1366. This is 12 Grand Point. This is also a non-compliance hearing. This came before the board on July 19th, 2018. They had until August 19th, 2018 to bring it into compliance. On August 21st, an inspection was conducted, and it was still not in compliance. This has to do with the addition that you see there above the garage. It was never permitted. They were required to get building permits for it. As of this date, they have today, which is when this photo was taken, they have not.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Rose? Then, do I need to accept this as evidence? And I will.
And his testimony.
And your testimony as well.
Okay.
Hi, Dave. Yeah.
Have they even tried or
That looks
contacted
okay.
anybody?
Not to my knowledge, no. There's been no application submitted to any department yet to allow it to be built.
Okay, I'll listen to the motion then to accept his recommendation.
So moved.
All right, and who will second it?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. And opposed? Okay.
All
Number
right.
3.
Number 3, 173374, this is 106 Beach Drive. This is also a non-compliance. This one's a little bit different. This one actually came before the board, and this was for building in the setbacks. The pool deck was built into the setbacks, which I'll give you a picture of the property here.
Oh, yeah.
The board had ordered to allow for 90 days for a possible code change to allow for the pavers to stay in the setback. We are now past that 90 days. The code language has not changed as of yet. Speaking with Kristen Schell in the planning department, she anticipates that all code languages will be through the BCC and accepted before the first of the year, probably at the latest sometime in December. So at this point in time, it's up to you if you folks would like to find the property in non-compliance or grant an extension.
Has the offender contacted you?
Yes, they contacted us via letter, and actually the attorney is here to speak for them, and in the letter, they're asking for additional time to allow for the code change also.
Okay, any other questions for Mr. Rose from the board?
And they tried to be on last month's agenda, but it was already set before to bring this for a extension then.
When does the extension run out?
The extension ran out,
The 90 days, when do the 90 days run out?
let's see, it started on 90 days from the 21st of May, so May, June, July, August 21st.
I read something in the Beach Breeze this morning about changes to the code.
Yeah, right. We know they're coming, yeah,
Correct.
right.
They
So,
just haven't made it quite as far as they had hoped yet.
okay,
It may be sooner than the end of the year too.
It very well could be, but on the safe side, I wanted the far out date. I don't want to have to repeat month after month, have to come back for the same thing when we know it's coming.
My recollection is that this was a kind of a nebulous thing to start with. Patios, it was found in compliance at one time, and pieces of paper were issued saying everything's okay, and then somebody measures a distance between the fence and a patio, and all of a sudden it should be 10 feet instead of 5 feet after the fact.
Yeah, there was a.
And there was neighbors complaining, that didn't want the house there to start with, which kind of brings us into the neighborhood squabble that has already been settled, which I would think the least we could do would be to grant this, extension, because the law's gonna change anyway.
okay, but any other, before we do this amongst ourselves, any other questions for Mr. Rose? Sir, do you have any questions? Would you tell us who you are?
Yes. Good evening. My name is Michael Henry. I'm an attorney for the Tates. I'm from Dunlop and Shipman, and I was here before the board in May for the original hearing. At that time, we had discussed that the changes were coming to Chapter 5 of the Land Development Code, and we believe once those changes were adopted, the pavers would be in compliance. The order was entered after that hearing, giving the 90 days to allow for it. As we got into August and the vote hadn't gone before the Board of County Commissioners, we had reached out both to the County Attorney's Office and also to the Code Enforcement Board Attorney, Renee Ewell, to request to be put on the agenda to make the request for an extension of the order. At the end of the hearing in May, there was some discussion amongst the board if the vote hadn't come up yet that we could make a request for an extension of the order. There was a little confusion trying to get onto the August date, which would have been before the compliance period ran out, but we are here before you today to make that request. In communications with the planning department, it looks like that vote is set to come up by November, and as Mr. Rose indicated, they were trying to pass all the portions of the Land Development Code before the end of the year. So we would be asking today for an extension of the operation of that order until the end of until the first of the year. at which point we believe that this will become a moot issue as was contemplated in the order that was issued by the board.
And Mr. Rose, do you believe that if the language as proposed is adopted, that they will be in compliance?
That is correct. If the new language stays as is, as was suggested, it would allow for pool deck pavers to be in the setbacks, which would then bring this property into compliance.
Okay, I'm going to accept his picture and testimony into evidence,
And
and Mr. Henry's as well. All right, any questions for Mr. Henry? If not, I'll listen to a discussion or a motion.
Make a motion to accept, given the extension.
How long?
Till the, till the
31st of
board
December.
passes, I mean, till the law legislation goes to board.
You better put a date on it, because it could
Yeah.
go on.
31 December.
The third
How about-
Thursday in January.
I make, to that.
Seconded?
Second, I second.
All right, any other discussion? All right, all those in favor to giving them an extension until the third week in January?
Third Thursday.
Third Thursday in January of next year,
Okay.
signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Okay, the extension's granted.
Thank you for your time this evening.
that
Yep.
would be the 17th of
Okay.
2019.
Mr. Rose,
Yes,
number 4, please.
All right, case number 182544. This is 5231 County Highway 30A, Santa Rosa Beach. As you recall, this has to do with the fence in the parking lot. On August 16th, this one came before the board.
This is the fish house.
Well, this isn't the Fish House, this is Eastern Lake Village LLC. This is the Buddy's Seafood Restaurant is the closest business to that area. Anyway, on August 16th, 2018, it came before the board. It was ordered that the fence be removed immediately. They were given 3 days until the 19th to remove it. On August 20th, this photo was taken, and it had not been removed as of August 20th.
And they had until what date to remove it?
August 19th.
Is it still up?
I happen to know that it's gone now.
As of today, the official notice of compliance was issued today. This morning, we were out there and they were finishing up putting the pavers in, and we went back out this afternoon, and Anna took this photo this afternoon, and it was completed.
And what was the penalty that we,
$250 a day, beginning on the 20th of August.
so theoretically, or not theoretically, he
The
owes a
fines
fine
would,
of-
the fines would run, I'm sorry, from August 19th, not the 20th, my apologies. From August 19th to September 20th, for a total of 33 days, at $250 a day, it comes to $8,250.
Okay, do you have a recommendation?
I recommend that the property is found in noncompliance as of the date of the order, and that the fines accrue as such. I would also recommend that you recognize the affidavit of compliance, and the property is in compliance, thus setting the fine total at $8,250 for the parcel.
Okay,
Did they reach out to even try to acknowledge that that there was a fine accruing and that they would be?
Not to my knowledge, they didn't.
Ask for any kind of,
I can tell you that
Relief.
throughout the process, it was a long process to get it down, for them to take a month. They started by taking some panels down, and then left the posts up for a very long time, and then instead of just pulling the post out, they cut the posts in half, and then left that for a very long time, and then finally eventually broke out all the posts, and yeah. So it was a process, so I think the fines justify the end.
okay, any other questions? All right,
Is there anyone in the audience to speak for them?
is there anyone here from the offender here? Well, we're not gonna listen to him then. Okay,
so that they have already been notified of the fines and,
They
That they
received,
were be coming before the board tonight, correct?
yes,
Chose
yes.
not to come.
That is correct. They received their affidavit of non-compliance, they received their final order. The only thing they have not received yet is their affidavit of compliance with the final fee on it. Obviously, that was just done today, so it has to go out certified mail, so it'll be probably the end of this week before they get it.
Okay. Any discussion among the board members, or is there a motion?
Well, you haven't received anything from them, or you received?
The only thing that we received from them was yesterday around noon, 1 o'clock. We received an email from their attorney to state, no, that wasn't even them, that was the other one. I'm sorry, same attorney, wrong case. No, they have not notified us at all in regards to the fence going down. We happen to notice it being there inspecting another case.
And they were here at the last meeting.
That is
Oh, yeah,
correct.
they would do that.
They were here at that meeting,
With
yes,
an attorney.
with an attorney,
Was it 2 months ago or what?
No, last month.
last month.
And they were notified of this meeting?
Yes, sir.
So what, I guess I got a question, why is, if we found the violation before, why is it having to come back before the board tonight, just to?
This is the non-compliance hearing. They were given 3 days to remove it. They
Okay.
did not remove it in 3 days.
I got
It took them considerably longer to get it removed, and that's where, once those 3 days are up, as code enforcement, we issue an affidavit of non-compliance. That's what the board accepts as, you know, the ending and starting of the fines. This hearing, the second hearing for non-compliance, is about establishing the property as a non-compliance at the time and establishing the fines accordingly.
Okay, that's fine,
And
I just assumed
they
that was
didn't-
automatic.
They didn't get a development order to put the fence up.
Okay.
Okay, so a motion from someone.
Motion? I move the order stands.
And that they pay their $8,250.
Second.
Any other discussion?
Well, it's not necessarily the order, it's the affidavit of noncompliance and the amount of the fines to establish that.
What she said.
And the acceptance of the,
What she said, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Jennifer, can you
Yeah, the
do what she said?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll fix that.
Okay.
Just testify.
So somebody seconded? You did, Dave? All right. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, then the motion carries and they're liable for the $8,250 fine.
And for housekeeping, did you accept his testimony and?
I did not, and I will at this point accept his photograph and his testimony,
And his affidavit of noncompliance.
and his affidavit of non
Affidavit of compliance.
Okay, Kurt, you gonna do
All right.
number 5 too?
Yeah, I'm pretty much gonna do all of them tonight.
Oh, okay.
This is case 18-1601. This is 35 Cobiesh Court. This one came before the board on August 16th, 2018. And for the record, I'd like you to accept my photograph, testimony, affidavit of noncompliance for the record.
I will accept it for the
Thank you, sir.
record.
On August 16th, this one came before the board. This had to do with operating a limo business out of a residential neighborhood house. And then there was also some junk and debris that was around in the area. They were to bring the property into compliance by September 15th. On September 18th, they had not brought it into compliance. These photos were actually taken today. The first one there shows both the limos still parked on the property. And as far as the junk and debris, a lot of the garbage has been cleaned up. However, there's multiple vehicles untagged, unregistered that are still sitting there.
Those are all untagged and
The black truck, I know the black cars and the black truck is for sure, that are immediately facing us. I'm not sure about the one that's kind of pinned in between them. Obviously, it's private property. I wouldn't go up there to look.
And what was our order? They had how long?
They had until September 15th, which is just a few days ago.
Or the fine of,
The fines will accrue at $250 per day, starting on the 18th.
and since it's still not in, starting on
On September 18th,
September 18th.
correct.
Okay.
And it is still not in compliance.
Right, so at this point, they owe, today being just the 20th, they just owe $500,
So far,
so.
until they brought it, until
If
they.
you went out there tomorrow and it's cleaned up, $500.
Correct.
Yeah.
We would then issue the affidavit of compliance and close it out and set the fines accordingly.
Okay.
What would they have to do? Just move the 2 cars or get?
The unregistered, untagged vehicles, they would either have to remove the vehicles, get them properly registered and tagged like the vehicle should be. The limos would have to be relocated to another area. This is not an area for commercial purposes.
And the boat?
Yes, the boats, that was the other part of that. Let me go
What
back.
if they drive the limo, they live there?
Is this a conservation area?
This is residential preservation, I believe is what this one was.
So they can't have a
Correct.
commercial,
So you can't have a commercial vehicle at your house?
You're not supposed to, no.
not multiple ones.
And
Would that include a
while
truck
I
or-
may agree with having one commercial vehicle parked if you worked for a contracting company and you bring that vehicle home, that's fine. But to have 2 limos parked in your driveway, that's not an individual going back and forth to work at an off-site job. They're storing their limos on the property for their own commercial benefit.
Okay. Questions for Mr. Rose?
Was that the only trigger, if you will, as far as violating the business operation and the residential?
The resident, yeah, correct.
You were gonna talk about the boat.
The boats are also still there. They are backed in. They are technically on trailers, even though they are pretty rough shape. We would have asked them to be removed, but, you know, that's a matter of law. I don't know if we can actually get them to pull them off because they are on a trailer. They are secured.
Okay.
That would
So,
kind of,
He just has to remove the 4 vehicles, and
he would have to remove the vehicles that are unregistered, untagged, and then he would have to remove the
The limousine.
limousine services.
Okay.
How many vehicles could he have there tagged?
Pardon me?
How many vehicles could he have there that's tagged illegal?
It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter?
Okay, any other discussion? If not,
I guess
yeah,
I'm still just a little unclear on just that he had, I mean, are the limousines, are they clearly for a limousine service? I mean, is there?
Correct, he
has it been
advertised,
established
he,
without-
yes, that, as of the last board meeting,
Right.
we established
So I
the
wasn't
fact
here, I
that he
wouldn't
is,
wanna drag that out.
that he is operating a limousine service out of his home.
Mr. Stein?
Yes.
The debris that was on the neighboring property behind it that been taken care of.
That was on the other photo, as I said
Okay,
earlier.
didn't see it.
Oops, wrong way, sorry.
you were a little.
Has that been
Yeah.
removed?
Yes,
Okay.
that would have been, that small white cap in the back is a truck cap, and everything on the left-hand side of that has been removed. That pretty much boundaries where the other edge of the property is, so.
So he's making progress.
He did make some progress with getting some of the stuff cleaned out. If you recall, there was an old semi-trailer that was backed in there. It's not back on the property anymore, now it's parked out in front in the right-of-way, but that's another matter.
Did you get a picture of that?
Recommend
I
we
did not.
find the officer's recommendation non-compliance
Okay,
as of the 18th of September.
and a second to that motion?
Second.
You wanna discuss it, or you wanna vote on it? Any other discussion? Then we'll vote on it. All those in favor?
Or did you call the audience for any?
Oh, is there anyone here who,
They didn't speak up, I mean.
there's no one here from, okay. So, and no one's opposed to the motion? Therefore, the motion carries.
Also, for the record, if you would please accept my testimony,
I will, and your
non-compliance, and the
photographs
picture.
as well, yes.
Thank you.
I think our motion is.
I think I did too. Okay, number 6.
Changing my handlebars for that reason.
All right, so case number 6, 18-1332.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Is this the evidentiary copy?
That is correct.
Okay.
All right, once again, for the record, my name is Officer Rose, Kurt Rose, Walton County Code Enforcement. This is case 18-1332, and I will be submitting my final report in this PowerPoint presentation as evidence. Okay, on April 2nd, 2018, a complaint was received by the Walton County Code Enforcement regarding drunken debris on property located at 515 Peacock Road in Funiac Springs, Florida. During my initial inspection on April 4th, 2018, Officer Kurt Rose attempted to make contact with the property owner at the front door. I spoke with a Sally Bohannon, who stated that they would start cleaning up and make significant progress. I also notated that the parcel was in violation of Ordinance 97-28 of the Walton County Land Development Code 5.0708C, outdoor storage. The code is up on the screen for you to review. The property located on 515 Peacock Road in Funiac Springs. It's off of Highway 90. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the location of it. There's a small church on the corner. There's also a church camp just to the south of it on that dirt road on the screen. So these are the initial photos from the initial inspection on April 24th. Or on April 4th. As you can see, there's quite a bit of debris throughout the property. There's one mobile home and one RV located on the parcel currently. On April 24th, I inspected the property again. They showed some progress. I granted them more time. Pretty much subsequent inspections dating from May 16th through May 31st showed small amounts of progress. However, they never really fully cleaned it up. Sometimes it got worse, sometimes it got better. And on July 24th, I sent out a notice of violation and hand-delivered it to Sally Bohannon, giving them an additional 10 days to comply and bring it into compliance. On August 8th, being the 10 days were up, I re-inspected the property. It showed some progress, but it was not completely cleaned up or brought into compliance. On August 13th, a notice of hearing was sent out, certified mail to the property owner of record according to Property Appraiser's website. The notice was returned unclaimed on September 5th. A notice of hearing was then hand-delivered to Sally Bohannon on September 6th of 2018. This photo here was as of Monday. Again, they are making some progress, kind of getting everything back against, but they are not fully cleaning up. The reason for bringing this case forward is it is junk and debris. It has gone on now for 6 months. Ample time has been granted to allow for cleanup, and to this day, it's still not cleaned up. Do you have any questions before I do my recommendation? Okay.
So they've been making some progress over the course of 6 months, or has it?
Yeah, it comes and goes. Some months it's better than others. It ebbs and flows. It's always.
And this photo was taken when?
This photo was taken Monday.
So just.
Yeah, just this week.
Were you able to see if the recreational vehicle is tagged?
I am not able to see that.
Yeah, okay.
Wait just a second, we'll listen to you, okay? We'll finish with him and then we'll listen to you.
Any other questions?
No,
Okay.
well, let's hear your recommendation and then we'll listen.
All
to
right,
it.
recommendation as code board, as the code enforcement board determined, one, that the address 515 Peacock Road, Definiak Springs, Florida, 32433, is located within the unincorporated area of Walton County and is subject to chapters 5.0708C of the Walton County Land Development Code. Two, that proper notice of the hearing was given to the respondent. Three, that a violation of Walton County Land Development Code section 5.0708C does exist on the property. Four, that the respondent is to correct the violation within 30 days of the date of this board's order, and the respondent is further ordered to contact the Walton County Code Enforcement Department to arrange for a reinspection of the subject property to verify compliance with this order. And then five, if the respondent fails to comply with above actions or fails to bring the property into compliance with the applicable codes and ordinances and regulations according to this order, the board assess a $250 a day fine until the property is brought into compliance.
Did you say 30 days hence? Give 30 days from today?
Correct. Give them 30 days to see if they can finish getting the rest of it cleaned up. If not, that puts it at 7 months since this started. In my opinion, we have given reasonable time to allow for cleanup.
You said at one point, 5/21, you were gonna give them 10 more days, and then you didn't mention another date until.
I went back and forth at least once a month, sometimes twice a month with them, and there's more case notes added to it to touch base to try to get them to clean up more and more. Again, some inspections it was better, others it was not, it was getting worse. Ultimately, you know, it's not enough that it comes into compliance.
Okay.
As of this past Monday when I was out there, that's evident of the picture, it's still not in compliance.
Okay. Ma'am, could you come up to the front and tell us who you are and tell us what you have to say?
Was she sworn in?
Yeah, she stood.
Yeah.
My name's Sally Buchanan, and Kirk was right, or whatever y'all call him.
Your name is what?
I call him Kirk, but I've been dealing with him for 6 months.
Yeah, but what's your name?
Sally Bohannon.
Oh, okay, you're the lady.
He was right, he has given me 6 months, and I am working on it, but I'm the only person doing it. It's kind of hard to do.
You're Marta R.?
No, Marta R. Bohannon is my mother-in-law. Bobby R. Bohannon is my husband, but we don't reside together. I reside there. I'm actually staying in the camp right now remodeling the other trailer, which is where all the debris started from to start with when I ripped the walls out.
Okay. That's a lot to take in, okay, but I think I got it. Okay. Can you clean it up?
I'm doing my best to work on it. Right, I'm actually working on putting a privacy fence around the camper right now, but it's very heavy and there's nails all in it. And I've got the holes to prove it. But
Yep.
yes, I will have it cleaned up by the time frame.
You understand the penalty if you don't would be severe.
Yes.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for Ms. Bohan?
How much more longer do you think it'll take it cleaned up now?
Honestly, 9 years, but
At $250 a day, how much you think?
do y'all take no, I can have it done within the month. And that's me doing it by myself. I don't have a vehicle to move stuff.
30 days.
So I have to wait till Thursdays for trash to pick up. And I really don't want to take it out to the road because I do have dogs and they destroy stuff everywhere.
Okay, well, it's pretty serious if you don't, right? You understand?
Yes, sir.
Because you just heard the last guy owed $8,000 for 1 month, so
Yes, sir.
what do we need to do?
Are you able to separate the true garbage that must be gone from
Yes.
what you're trying? Can you make
Yeah.
those in different piles?
I've been working on it really hard the past week actually. And you should come out because I done put more privacy fence up. There's not pictures of it.
And will the privacy fence suffice?
There was an issue because I had a washer, a dryer, and a refrigerator outside.
Yeah.
But you can see the washer and dryer, well, you really can't see it from this picture, but I know it's there. It's behind that big tree. But, the privacy fence that you see up in the picture is actually blocking the refrigerator because in the other trailer, I have an idiot, but he ripped all the wall plugs out, so I got to get the boxes and then put the plugs back in, and then I can move all that stuff back in the trailer. So
And
Do
Mr.
you own the
Rupp,
property?
Hmm?
Do you own the property?
it's mine, but it's in my husband's and his mom's name.
They'll be reliable too, won't they? I mean,
They would be liable.
you're still married, right?
Yes, sir.
And the property, but the property belongs to your husband and his mom.
Yes, sir. It's in their name, but it's mine.
It ain't either.
Okay, legally.
You may
You may
think it's
think it
yours.
is,
but-
but it ain't
Legally,
yours.
it's theirs, but it's mine. I'm responsible for anything that happens to that property. They're not. I
Okay.
mean, legally, they would be responsible, but technically, I'm responsible because it's mine.
Mr. Rose, if she puts up the privacy fence and does what she said, would she be in compliance?
Provided that the privacy fence meets the code and blocks it from public view, yes.
It meets what?
Meets the code
Yeah,
and blocks.
provided that it meets 50708C where it is blocked from public view,
Oh, I see.
then yes, it would. If it's not fully blocked from public view and can be seen from the roadway, then it would not.
We're not talking about the camper, are we?
So it'd have to be how tall? How tall would it have to be?
6 foot,
Code calls for a 6 foot.
6 foot.
Is there a building permit required for fence? I can't remember.
Negative.
No.
You think you can get the fence up?
I got 4 pieces up so far. Y'all might not think it really is a lot because they're really heavy.
Yeah,
They're really, really heavy.
You call for motion yet?
no, I will.
I make a motion to give it 30 days and then start fine.
Somebody seconded?
Wait a minute, he said he
Oh.
didn't end the public
Or
hearing.
maybe
Oh, okay.
continue it to the next meeting.
There you go.
That way she'll have to come down here again.
Okay.
I mean,
I
let's
guess
stop
we
for
can-
time.
Well, wait,
Won't you
we're
end
gonna
it?
close okay, so we're gonna accept Mr. Rose's testimony, we're gonna accept Ms. Bohannon's testimony, and we're gonna close the public part of the
And
hearing.
you're gonna accept his exhibits.
And, oh yeah, and we'll accept his exhibits as well. Okay, thank you
And I'll hear
both.
from you.
No, now you're gonna listen to us, figure out what we're gonna do with you, but you can sit down, yeah.
Actually, I'm gonna sit back. I can hear him back here, but I'm gonna sit with my daughter.
Okay, so what was the choice? Either we find her guilty and give her 30 days to come into compliance, or you suggested that we continue the case for 30 days. Why would you want to continue the case for 30
Well, he's
days?
been up there a dozen times, thereabout, going back. It couldn't be convenient to come down here. If she's gonna comply, maybe she doesn't have to come, but if she doesn't comply, she'll have to come back down here. She's not in
No, if
compliance.
she doesn't comply, she just has to start
Have to pay the
paying
bill.
$250 a day.
Right.
Well, or put on the property and.
Yeah, well, not gonna take too long.
Has the property,
We can give her more than 30 days.
Yeah,
You would make it 60 days out, and we're talking about making it 30 days out. So you want to bring her back for an extra trip, and then,
Yeah, if that
so
inconvenient.
he wants to give her 60 days in this.
You think?
she'll need it.
At least 60.
I think she'll need
It's
it.
pretty
Well,
hot
you
right
can,
now.
you can.
We can
you
move
modify-
whatever-
You can modify, Officer Rose's recommendation to 60 days.
it's just his recommendation, we can
So
find
you can
whatever
do what
we
you
like.
want to do.
I think it would get cleaned up quicker if we reduced the fine to $50 a day.
Why would that get it quicker?
It's a realistic amount.
We could adjust that
I
later.
tend to agree with that. That $250 seems
It's just, I don't know.
very out of touch to me.
Well,
Did we set that fee or does somebody else?
No, we can set whatever we like.
Yeah, that's the
That
maximum.
250 is the maximum.
Yeah, okay.
Let's give her 60 days.
At what rate?
250. I don't think we need it more.
Okay, you make the motion and let's see what happens.
I move that we extend the timeframe to comply to 60 days, and that we find, in all other respects, in favor of Officer Rose's recommendations. And what else?
I think that's enough. Somebody seconded?
I second.
All right, do you want to discuss it some more, or you want to vote on it?
Question.
Yeah,
The fine stays the same after 60 days? Okay.
yeah, there's no fine until 60 days.
I understand that, but
Yeah.
I didn't hear David's comment.
Yeah, he said 250, he said, give her 60 days and then a fine of
Basically,
250.
I found that we find in favor of Officer Rose's recommendations, except that we extend the period to comply to 60 days.
I'll second that.
It's already been seconded,
sorry.
you just have to vote for it. So all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Then the motion carries. Ma'am, you've got 60 days, but don't be late.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
Please.
And she must contact the
Yeah.
Officer Rose.
When you're done,
Yeah.
You have to call code enforcement, tell them to come up, take a look again.
Be polite and call him.
Yep, thank you.
What happened to the $450, one-time charge?
Yeah, we haven't been doing that in a while.
Well, Ms. Christman, when she first started, brought up a case that, put that into question as to whether or not it was enforceable. So you gentlemen stepped away from it. I did notice that they're still using it in the letters that they're giving, that basically gives if the case law changes or you make a decision, because it has to be actual cost. So until an actual cost is found, is determined, you've just stepped away from it.
But there's been no conclusion, huh? There's no,
Not yet.
all right. Well, let's keep going. We're doing pretty good. Number 7, please. Renee, I complied. I accepted everything into evidence.
Yes, sir, you
Okay.
did. And you accepted her testimony.
Okay.
All right, once again, my name is Officer Kurt Rose, Walton County Code Enforcement, and for the record, I will be submitting this PowerPoint presentation and my final report as evidence. This is Code Enforcement Case 18-1503 with Mr. James E. Ferris on 10213 County Highway 3280 in Ponce de Leon, Florida. On April 12th, a complaint was received by Walton County Code Enforcement Office concerning a mobile home was placed on the property without proper permits, specifically at 10213 County Highway 3280, which is located in the unincorporated area of Walton County. I, Officer Kurt Rose, conducted the initial site inspection and determined that the parcel was in violation of Ordinance 97-28 of the Walton County Land Development Code 11.0402 for building permits. During the initial inspection, I attempted to make contact with the property owner at the front door of the residence. There was no response at the time. Building permits code 110402 requires generally no erection, alteration, or reconstruction of any building or structure shall be commenced without first obtaining a building permit from the building official. Property located on 3280. Both United States Postal Service green cards for the notice of violation and notice of hearing were returned and signed by Timothy Ferris. This happens to be the mobile home in question. As you can see, it's kind of backed in down a driveway. It's not attached or hooked up to anything in any way. It's just kind of sitting there. On April 16th of 2018, I sent out a regular mail notice requesting them to contact code enforcement. I received no response from that letter. On May 9th, 2018, I sent out a notice of violation, certified mail to the property owner of record according to the Walton County Property Appraiser's website. On July 23rd, I did a compliance inspection which showed no change and no permit was applied for. No contact had yet been made with anyone or any resident on the property. On July 31st, I sent out a notice of hearing, certified mail to the property owner of record according to the Walton County Property Appraiser's website. On August 16th, that signature card was returned from the Postal Service, signed by a Tim Ferris. As of this morning, the mobile home is still there. And as of this morning, when I took this photo, I had had no contact with anyone in regards to this case.
Is it inhabited, this trail?
I have no idea. It doesn't appear to be. It doesn't look like anyone's come and gone from that one. There is another mobile home farther to the east of it that people do live in and come and go, but every time I've gone out there, no one's
I
been
only
there.
asked the question, is it possible it's just being stored?
It's possible.
Yeah,
However, it still would not be allowed without a permit.
no wiring to it or anything?
No.
But you can't store a mobile home, an
Correct.
unlicensed motor home on your property?
an unlicensed mobile, you have to have a mobile home permit to place a mobile home on your property in any form or fashion. You can't just park one on a vacant lot and store it there.
Okay.
Mobile homes required to, just like anything else, to meet wind codes by, building standards, and if they're not tied down properly, they pose a risk of flying debris.
So he can't get just a permit and just leave it there without tying it down?
No, he would have, that's what part of the permit would call for from the building department, would be for a tie-down inspection.
Can you just do that? Can you just tie it down and not hook up utilities?
That would be up to the building department of whether or not they wanted to hook up utilities to it. It's still gonna require the same building inspection, or it's still same permit irregardless.
Okay.
So how long has it been there?
Since April,
We
at least.
got the complaint on April 12th.
April, okay.
And the dates up on there correspond to the important dates, 4/12/5.
Just one second, I'll get to you. Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Rose?
Have you talked to the property owner or anybody about it?
As of this morning, I did not. I actually first met Mr. Ferris, when he walked in here earlier.
Okay. Mr. Ferris, you've been sworn in? Yes. Would you come to the front, please?
One moment
Yeah.
before we do that, do you want me to read my recommendation?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Hold on just a second. Yeah.
It's my recommendation that the Code Enforcement Board determine, one, that the address of 10213 County Highway 3280, Ponce de Leon, Florida 32455, is located within the unincorporated area of Walton County and is subject to chapters 110402 of the Walton County Land Development Code. 2, that proper notice for the hearing was given to the respondent. 3, that a violation of the Walton County Land Development Code, section 110402, does exist on the property. 4, that the respondent is to correct the violations within 30 days of the date of this board's order. The respondent is further ordered to contact Walton County Code Enforcement Department to arrange for a reinspection of the subject property to verify the compliance of this order. That if the respondent fails to comply with above actions or fails to bring the property into compliance with applicable codes, ordinances, and regulations according to this order, the board assesses a $250 a day fine until the property is brought into compliance.
Okay, I accept Mr. Rose's presentation as evidence
And his testimony.
and his testimony as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Ferris, do you care to tell us anything, or?
Yes, sir. I own the property and,
You need to
I
identify
didn't-
yourself.
Yeah.
I'm James Ferris.
You're James Edward Ferris?
Yes, sir.
Who's Timothy Ferris?
He's my little brother.
Okay.
And, anyway, he let this girl named Penny Taylor move in, and I didn't know the trailer was pulled up there. But, I got an eviction notice for her and everybody that's on the property, because I'm gonna sell it. But, if you'll give me some time, I'll have it removed myself.
Is she living in it now?
Yeah, I got tomorrow is the final judgment. You wanna see this?
Well, we pulled up, for the board's edification, we pulled up the case, Jennifer pulled it up where he received his final, this is an unofficial, but we pulled it up and printed it off. A final judgment of eviction against Penny Taylor, which was signed by Judge Green on, sorry, I have to get on the 3rd day of August. And so he does have an eviction for her. And he's just going through the sheriff to remove her.
And it takes a while once you get an eviction notice to make it happen?
It's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not easy at all.
She cost me a lot of money, but
You
Is
better
she-
believe it, I just went through it.
somebody she knows drug the trailer up there. I just found out about it myself. And, but
You don't live there?
no, I live in Jackson County. I own the property though.
Is she living in that trailer or the
No.
other trailer?
No, I have another trailer that's on the property.
There is another one on the
Yes.
property, and it is properly purchased.
Yes, it's properly.
And she was living in that one, and then she had
And
this
then
one
she let
dragged.
somebody, they said, I just found out, they were supposed to move it within 10 days, but it's still sitting there.
When did you find out about
Last week.
this?
Yeah,
This whole
see, I live
affair.
in Jackson County, and I didn't know that they had pulled it up
So
there.
your brother was opening your mail for you?
Right,
and-
see, man, he didn't contact me.
He never said anything to you about it?
See, I'm in Jackson County, and he's way over here, and when I finally got the letter last week, so that's why I showed up here today.
It took him that long to let you know that somebody pulled a trailer
He
on?
might not have known it.
Now, he signed.
Oh, he didn't.
Timothy signed the green card.
Right, my brother signed it. But-
Yeah.
But I wished he would've called me, you know what I mean, 'cause I'd already had it took care of. But I mean, it's got tires and all on it, all they gotta do is take them blocks out. And I'll get with the guy that pulled it up there, and either he'll move it or I'll move it for him, because I'm gonna sell the property.
So you need to get the trailer off it so you can sell the
It's got to
property?
go anyway, because and
Yeah.
all of them, that's what the eviction thing's for. It took me 6 weeks to get them off the property.
And are they now gone from the property?
Tomorrow.
The sheriff comes tomorrow.
Tomorrow, I gotta come back here, get the original copy,
Yeah.
take it to the police station, give them $100. He's supposed to meet with me out there, and I'm supposed to tell him what all's not supposed to be here, and they all gotta go, even my brother.
And how long do you think it's gonna take you to get rid of the trailer?
Probably 2 days.
2 days?
Oh, yeah.
You
But
want
if
to
you'll
go?
give me 30 days, I'll assure you it'll be gone.
What would you do with it?
Well, I don't know, I got an excavator and a big dump truck. My boss man, I'll crush it.
They'll
haul
let
it
you
off.
pull it to the landfill, I think. If you
Yeah.
want to take it to the landfill. they'll
It's
let
free
you.
to do that? Because
I
I
think
got
so,
another
yeah,
fellow's
I've
got
taken-
one. Yeah.
I've taken them out there years ago. I think you still can.
You may have to have an escort for it though.
Yeah.
Not with the excavator, I got a dump truck.
It'll be road compliant.
Yeah, really,
Okay.
she's already cost me $3,400 by just being there.
This is your brother's girlfriend,
Yeah,
so I assume he didn't tell you, trying to protect her.
I guess.
That matters.
Well, now they're all gotta go.
Okay, it gets clearer. Okay, then I'll close any other questions? Okay, the public part of the hearing is closed. Thank you, gentlemen. I accept Mr. Ferris's testimony as well as evidence. And now, any discussion or a motion?
And his,
And his introduction of evidence, that being the eviction notice.
And you all,
No, it's done.
Huh?
We closed the public part.
oh, I can't ask him that question.
Ask me the question.
So that, I think, as if I understood Renee correct, you all knew about this eviction.
we just found out when he came this evening and he told us, so we pulled it up and Jennifer printed it out so that we could confirm that he did indeed have had been through an eviction process with Penny Taylor. And this was unlocked on the clerk's website. So even though it's not unofficial, we did witness pulling it off of the clerk's site, so it's not been altered.
And so Officer Rose's recommendations match with, or
He gave him
meet with what
30
Mr.
days.
Parrish wants to do.
Yeah, 30 days he gave him.
Did you say 30 days?
He did.
Yeah.
Okay, a motion then?
And I move that we accept Officer Rose's finding of fact and recommendations and everything else, and, that's it.
Okay, who'll second it?
Second.
Gordon, you will?
Yeah.
Okay, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, it carries. You've got 30 days. Thank you.
Tell him we need to contact them.
Oh, hey, when you get done, you need to call code and have them come out and take a look and make sure. Yeah. Okay, the final one then, number 8. 6 o'clock's pretty good.
All right, case 16-1231. This is 8528 County Highway 30A. I'm sorry I don't have any photos for this one. This one actually took place back in December of 2017. This was a deck that was built into the dunes. Your board order was to remove it. We came back for non-compliance. The non-compliance was found. The day after the non-compliance hearing, he removed the deck from where it was located. However, it still incurred fines accruing for 29 days from the original order, which left a total of $7,250 in fines associated with the property. The property is currently in compliance. Those fines remain outstanding. And that's really all I have for you on the history of this case.
Do the dates again. We found him,
You found him in violation on December 21st of 2017.
yeah,
He was to take action, I'm sorry, let me go back to the other one. He was to take action by January 20th of 2018.
okay. And he did take action, but not until
Correct.
what date?
February 19th, 2018.
And at that point, he called you to say, hey, I'm in compliance.
That is correct.
When you say used to take action, you mean come into compliance?
Correct.
Then the order was given
To remove the deck.
no, to January, what was that date again?
20.
January date?
January 20th, 2018.
All right.
The affidavit of noncompliance hearing was completed. An affidavit of compliance was completed and recorded. So the property is currently in compliance, and he did everything he was supposed to do according to the board order. The only outstanding thing at this time is the $7,250 in fees that would have been owed to the property, or owed on the property from the original order.
Okay.
And the work, on the dune?
All the restoration was completed.
He had some problems with EPA too, didn't he, about the?
With DEP, yes, he had a consent order through DEP was granted to him to allow the deck to stay. However, you guys voted for it not to go. DEP also, in that consent order, fined him $500 for violation of Florida statute.
Okay, you, sir, are,
Mr. Perlitz actually made the request to come before the board to speak with you.
okay. At this point then, Mr. Perlitz, you were sworn in, correct?
No.
No, okay, well then you will be now.
You'll raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth before this board on this matter?
I do.
State your name for the record, please.
Thad Perlitz, 8528 East County Highway 30A. So y'all are aware of the situation. I've been dealing with Kurt on some of these issues and stuff, and he's been great to work with, by the way. Back in that first meeting that y'all had, that code enforcement board meeting in December, there were 3 issues that y'all had concerns with. There were sections 11.00.01, 4.00.01, and 5.00.03. Basically, those were.
Tom, are we gonna rehear the case here?
Well, let me just give him a little bit of. Just give him a minute.
What do I get, 5 minutes?
Yeah,
Okay.
well, 3 minutes.
I'd appreciate that if you give me my 5 minutes. Essentially, what happened was I was not in compliance with the side yard setback. That was one of the issues. That was the 5.00.03. I rectified that. I was 3 feet over. DEP had asked me to do that. And there was another one. I needed to get a consent order, approved consent order for approval of that deck, and I received that. And that was prior to the December 21st meeting. The only thing that was outstanding was the building permit that y'all requested I have from the county. After that meeting, I went down to planning and development, and I had filled out an application. Y'all had asked me that if I had done that, and I, at that time, had not. To preface that, the contractor that I had doing all this was supposed to have done that. Once that was found out that that wasn't the case, then I went to DEP, wrote a letter, and explained what the situation was, worked with Jim Martinelli. So a couple days after this, our code enforcement board meeting, I went down to planning and development with filled out a building permit and with all the documents that they needed. Surveys, elevations, plans. I spoke, and I asked to speak with somebody to make sure I had everything that they needed for to apply for a building permit. I spoke with Jason Catalano. Jason took a look at what I had there, looked at the DEP consent order, and told me, he says, we never require a building permit when you get approval from DEP. I was kind of shocked about that. So the next day I spoke with Bill Williams, and I asked Bill, I said, hey, I just went down there. I'm trying to pull a building permit for this deck that I have here, and Mr. Catalano is saying that I don't need a building permit. And his response was, well, that's half true. He says, we haven't been requiring it before, but we're trying to implement that now. So I guess I'm kind of like in the now part, even though that deck had been there 6 months prior to that. So I'm kind of confused about what I need to do, because I'm now going back to DEP, and I'm working with DEP about getting a approval for that deck again. There was some modifications. I want to get that approval letter prior to coming back down to planning and development and filling out another building permit. But I'm kind of confused about what's going to happen again. So I need some clarification, I guess, I'm not not sure that's Bill Williams or if that is the plans.
You're saying you have not yet gotten that clarification?
I haven't been down there in 5 months.
When-
When I haven't done anything with that to try to build another deck.
But he said you're in compliance now.
Well, I am in compliance, but I'm just telling you what I tried to do when I had that deck built to get a building permit. I went down 3 or 4 days after our meeting here. to
You're
try to
saying
get-
in December of last year.
It went on, it was probably in February, because I think there was a January meeting also.
Well, what the dates that Mr. Rose just recited to us were that at the meeting, the 21st of December and 17, you were found in violation and you had till January 20th to come into compliance. Is that correct, Kurt? Okay, so why would it take till February to act on it?
I was still under the assumption that what I had submitted was gonna suffice.
But you were at the meeting, right? The
I
meeting
was-
where we
I was at the-
found you.
I was at the meeting, but I was under the assumption that if I had gotten a building permit, because someone asked me, says, well, why didn't you get a building permit? So after that meeting, I went down, I think it was the February building, the code enforcement meeting, that I did exactly that. I went down to planning and development, and filled out a building permit. And at that time, they told me a building permit is not required once you get DEP approval. So, and I had that discussion with Bill Williams. And he was aware of it. And I don't know if Mr. Williams is.
Couldn't we ask Mr. Williams if that's his recollection?
I don't believe that was me he spoke to, sir. I think that might have been Billy Bearden, the building
Bearden.
official.
No, 'cause I remember your,
I had discussion with you about the deck being not permitted, correct? But I never talked to you in February on the telephone about that. I don't know what you're speaking of. We never had a discussion about that. So I don't know who Bill you spoke to, but
I could have.
I'm assuming it was the building official because
Mm-hmm.
if you talked to somebody in planning, that would have been the process. They turned you over to the building department.
Would that
to
be
get
Billy
the building.
Bearden?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's the head building
Okay,
official for the
I
county.
stand corrected. I thought it was, I remember talking to you.
Yes, we spoke prior to that regarding your deck because I was helping Officer Rose on the case.
Right.
But it was not in the context that you
Okay,
explained.
okay. Well,
What happened to your plans about putting steps all the way down to the beach and build, kind of putting your deck on the steps?
Wait, look, that's
well,
water
that's going through
under the
DEP.
dam.
I've got to get DEP approval for that. And to get that, they typically do a field permit. Because of this that went through there, Jim Martinello said that he's requested that I do a CCL permit package, which is much more extensive.
That's right.
You know, I have a really nice county walkover right next to me. That's the last thing I need to do is build another, I had 4 pilings, I had 4 piers in that dune. The plans that I have from an engineer, I'm gonna put in 38 piers to get that dune walkover all the way down there. I'd really rather not do that. I've spent about $20,000 on that dune, and dune restoration, and sand, and landscaping, and irrigation. I'd rather not have to do that, but that's what it takes, I guess.
What do what do you want us to do?
Well, I'm here because I first of all, I want to let you know what the scenario that I had about getting my building permit, because I'm being told that I have to have a building permit. Attempted to get that building permit, and I'm sure if you want to contact Jason Catalano about it, he could, I wrote his information. I had a meeting with him for about 15 minutes, and that.
Sir, could you just tell us what you're asking for, please?
I'm asking for I'm being fined $7,500. I'm asking for a fine reduction or a fine elimination. I mean,
And the reason is because you feel that it was unclear to you what you needed to do to remedy the situation?
well, I was kind of working from the back end, but once I got approval, the three items that you asked for was the DEP approval, side yard setback, and the building permit.
Right.
And I went down to your office and tried to get that building permit and was told I don't need one. Now, or that, from Jason Catalano. Now, it might be from somebody else who's gonna require that I have that building permit now, so.
He wouldn't know.
Can Mr. Carpenter clarify this for us?
Mac, would you know anything about this?
I don't have any knowledge.
Yeah. Well, this sounds like one, maybe we ought,
Can we talk about it?
yeah,
after
we'll
the
talk
close?
about it after we're done. So do we have any more questions?
And we have other parties here to speak as well,
Yeah.
the neighbors are here, Mr. Dunaway and his
When you
client.
took the deck down, that was January you did that?
Is it February?
That's when you inspected it and it was gone, but
February
when did you
19th.
actually take it down?
Probably a couple days before Kurt came out there, because I did it over like on a Saturday, and Kurt came out, on Monday immediately.
Cause I was wondering about that February 18th.
19.
Yes.
So you were out of compliance from January 20th to the 18th or 19th?
I re-inspected on Monday, February 19th, and he had told me he took it down over the weekend, so I
And
would assume Saturday.
When did he have to take it down? By January
He had
20th?
to have it done by January 20th, the month earlier.
So that's the problem, of those 30 days or whatever it is.
And that's the 7250?
Yeah.
That's the 7250, correct.
Okay.
So the three items, if I understood, Mr. Perlis, the first two, the DEP permit and, hold on a second, Officer Rose, this is kind of for you too. The DEP permit and what was the other one?
The side yard setback,
Side yard
it was
setback.
3 foot in the side yard setback. I pulled it out of the side yard.
So
setback.
I thought I understood you correctly that those two items were off the table by the time
December
it came to the
20
meeting.
December 21st.
Is that correct,
board
Officer
meeting.
Rose? I mean, it was
I got a
just a
letter
matter
here.
of getting the county building permit at that point?
That's right.
Correct.
So,
According to your board order in December, okay, let me go back to December's board order. That the respondent was to correct the violation of 11.00.01, which is the building permit. And your recommendation at that time was by removing the viewing platform on or before January 20th. The other two items had already been removed from discussion at that hearing. So the other two violations that there were on the property as far as you obtained the DEP permit, and then, what was the other one?
You got DEP permit,
Side-
the side yard setback.
And the side yard
Okay.
setbacks, those had both been corrected prior to the code enforcement board hearing in
Okay.
December.
my understanding, did you say this was a DEP field permit or CCCL permit?
No, I got a consent order from DEP for approval of the deck. Now, if I'm gonna move, and since I removed it, if I want to go back, I have to do the CCCL application.
And my experience, and I don't know, Mac, maybe you can address this, but doesn't DEP typically require county approval when there is a county approval process as a condition of issuing their permit?
We can talk about that after the.
Well, I'm asking the question whether that's true.
For CCL permit, the applicant is required to get a consistency letter from Walton County
That's what I, yeah.
to become part of their application to DEP for anything short of the triple CL.
All right, but that wouldn't be true necessarily in the case of the consent order that he referenced previously in the
It
first
may
one.
not be in that particular case.
Okay.
And how about field orders? If you get a field order from Reginald Bradley?
Reginald Bradley does issue field orders, that do not come through us.
Right.
They're typically for dune walkover kinds of things.
So mine's like 14 feet long. A dune walkover is not required by the county, then you're saying, to get a building
They
permit?
require a consistency letter, because you're gonna have to get,
Consistency.
going forward with triple CL.
Okay. Thank you.
That's right.
Okay. Any more questions then for Mr. Perlitz? If not, who is it that wants to speak to us?
His client.
Yes, sir. Would you tell us who you are?
Thank you, sir. My name is Will Dunaway. I represent the adjacent neighbor. Mr. Bickerstaff has been impacted, and I've been before this board on this matter before. If I may, I have copies of a timeline that I'd like to make copies for you.
We're just talking about the fine reduction, right?
Yes, sir, and that's exactly what I'm here to address.
The county would object to accepting any evidence against from a non-party to the proceedings.
Okay.
She objected to this document being accepted by the board because it's from a non-party in the proceeding.
The non-party being his attorney. Oh, no, being the
Being
neighbor.
Mr. Bickerstaff.
Well, the complainant is a party to the hearing, not.
And in fact, my client wasn't the complainant, that was another person. The
Well, wait a minute,
document-
I've got to deal with this issue of whether or not I'm going to accept it into
I can
evidence.
clarify, Ms. Yule. I'm not offering it into evidence, Mr. Chairman. I'm just offering it as an aid as I go through. These are issues that are, matters that are already in evidence. So I'm not offering it in evidence, just so it was helpful for me to go through this to relate to you the facts of what you've gone through and what your staff has gone through to get this issue into compliance.
First
Well,
Amendment.
wait a minute,
He has the
wait.
right.
Didn't we already settle the matter? Aren't we
Yes.
just down to the fine?
Yes.
He has a
So,
right.
so why then are we listening to,
This man has a right to address his.
no,
No.
he
the
doesn't. If I
government.
decide
Yes,
he
he
doesn't.
does. It's a First Amendment.
No, he doesn't. He can't come in here and talk about anything he wants to talk about.
He-
No, sir, I'm talking about the
I think
fine.
Ms. Chrisman would like to voice her
This,
opinion.
this is a quasi-judicial court proceeding.
And we asked for public comment.
Well, the public, it's actually exempt in the statute. Reasonable opportunity for public comment does apply to government boards. However, quasi-judicial functions are excluded. But I don't have any objection, we don't have any objection if you want to hear from people in the audience, but we do object to there being evidence presented upon which you may base your decisions.
Wait a minute, we can listen to them, but we can't accept their
It's your call,
evidence?
whether you want to, you've listened to these folks in the past as well, but I want to make sure that the board is aware that the parties here is Walton County versus Mr. Perlitz. We
All
have
right,
not
well, look-
called Mr. Dunaway or his client as witnesses on any of these events. I don't object if Mr. Dunaway wants to speak, but I do object to there being, you considering this as evidence upon which you base your decision.
Can
All
I ask
right,
a
well,
question? Can I ask-
yeah.
Tom, I'm real concerned about setting a precedent here. We've already made a judgment on this. We made a ruling on this. That ruling has already been taken care of in the fact that the fine has been assessed at $7-something thousand, whatever it is. We're sitting here rehearing this case is basically what we're doing. We're gonna hear a timeline now that we already have been presented to this board. So I'm recommending we close this, and so we can talk about this, and what we're gonna do about this reduction.
Wait a minute, I understand your point, and I tend to agree with you, but if they can they bring evidence to support their contention that the fine should be reduced?
Well,
Or is it a
he
matter
can
of,
present his opinion,
I got a question.
because the county
To
is
this
objecting
guy.
to the evidence, and then you can make a decision as to whether or not you accept that evidence. But he has been a party to this proceeding in the past and was a part of your original order, his testimony from his client, because his client was directly
Right.
affected.
And the
Right.
timeline he's gonna present is, we've already heard
Well,
from the original case.
well,
it's a new
Gordon,
case.
what is it you
It's on
want
the
to
I
agenda.
want, whether we reduce the fine or don't reduce the fine, how's that gonna benefit your client?
No.
Why does he have standing, I guess, is the question way I would put that.
No, the answer to, first, if I may, this question, how does that affect? All my client wants is that you treat this violator no different than you treat others.
Well, we
And he-
reduce them for others as well.
In this case, that's why I had the timeline. In this case, there's mitigation why you should not. Because the officers, county hasn't had to inspect this property 7 times over a course of 2 years. So it didn't just happen between January and February. There is a long history of this issue going back to the earlier.
well, we are well aware of that, okay? But we listened to all this, we went through it, and we decided he had 30 days to come into compliance. The only thing that bothers me in levying the fine and not considering reducing it is his apparent confusion, and I don't know if it was justified or not, in obtaining, or whether or not he needed to obtain a building permit.
Yes, sir.
If
and
we
that was-
said, you gotta get a building permit within 30 days, and the county says you don't need a building permit, that kind of casts a
And that's
different
exactly
light.
why we came here, so we could disabuse you of the notion that he was confused, because he had every opportunity to be informed. And the staff and the timeline shows that he had every opportunity to be informed. In fact, at this board, you did that twice. In December, and he didn't show up. In January, when he did show up, and he also talked about how he was confused, and you said, you're not confused, you didn't get the permit, you didn't comply. Why didn't you comply? I don't know. Then you finally go forward. We still don't know that the dune restoration has ever been completed the way your order says. There's been no compliance on that. The point is that there's no confusion here. The DEP has indicated that he has to have this deck removed. You ordered that it be removed. It took him the length of time that it did. It was over 2 years before you got to that point. It was still there. He knew he was out of compliance during the whole time, and he tried to go through a process that never got any action. And your code enforcement was forced to issue a second violation, to go through this issue twice, to subpoena DEP officers to appear on a December the 21st hearing that you were here, we were here, he wasn't here. The DEP issued a consent order based on that, which is normally not done simply because they didn't want to come to get here. Then you had the hearing in January. He wasn't in compliance. It took to February till Officer Rose finally got it, and now he comes here today. We didn't even know what it was that he was coming to. There was an email that said, I just want to be on the board. We just learned he wants a reduction, in fact, an elimination, because he was confused. He's not confused. This board has been very clear with him that he was supposed to be in compliance. All we wanted to do is just to be heard so that you don't get any indication from him that there was some confusion. If there was any confusion, the staff could have cleared that up, which they're happy to do, which I'm sure they've done. They inspected him 7 times. He didn't come into compliance. We don't think you ought to eliminate.
But we're hearing from the respondent now that there was conflicting instruction from Walton County, that being the instruction that Mr. Castellano allegedly gave them that he did not, in fact, need a permit.
Did have not been
Well, sir, your order, which Officer Rose referred to, if there had been any confusion as to whether there was a violation of needing a building permit, I'm certain that your staff would have advised you that you shouldn't have found him in violation of needing a permit. You absolutely needed a permit. He had to have a permit. You found him not being in violation of that. The DEP had told him to remove this platform. The DEP had told him to remove this platform 2 years earlier and move it up forward, and he didn't do that. And then there was a back and forth, and then we lost control with the old code enforcement. Officer Rose picked it up and diligently pursued it and did a great job of finally bringing it to you. You've held him accountable. He's now asking not to be held accountable for what he clearly knew he was supposed to do. That's all we wanted to make sure, that he's treated no differently than others who don't understand, who don't get it, and don't comply, and are held accountable. Thank you.
Okay. Why don't we close the public part of the hearing? What are you gonna ask?
I just want to say something about what I said, and I saw some Snickers out there, and I want to make it clear. There's 5 freedoms in the First Amendment. The last one is for the public to make their grievances heard at a public governmental hearing. And that can happen. I don't care what Florida law says. It's in the Florida Constitution.
In what way did we not allow that?
No, you did. You absolutely did, but I feel that maybe he might not have been able to do that if I hadn't brought that up. But for next time, you can address your grievances to a governmental meeting on a timely matter, and this is the best time for him to do that, and he did it.
Okay.
For Mr. Bickerstaff.
All right. I'm closing the public part of the hearing, and I listen to discussion or a motion.
I have a comment that
Yes.
my understanding is that if we reduce this fine, somebody has to make a motion that we either reduce it or eliminate it. Is that correct?
Yes.
Or change it.
I'm recommending that we do not make that motion.
So you're moving that the fine remain at $7,250.
That is correct.
Table it.
And then is there anyone who will second that motion? Am I allowed to?
No, sir,
I
you're the
didn't
chairman.
think- Yeah,
That's the guy.
yeah.
I think
We
the
can
proper
amend it.
way to, maybe a little bit better way to word it is that you make a motion to uphold, the fine as it stands. as
Okay, I'll
recommended
make the
by-
motion that we withhold, keep the fine as made, or motion, whatever that, or how you said it. As
Officer
stated,
Rose
yes.
presented.
All right, well, anybody,
Gentlemen, y'all, well.
second,
set
will
that
anyone
up,
second
so-
that motion?
What's your,
Well, wait, you either second it or you don't.
You second
And
it,
if no
we
one
can talk about
seconds it,
may not have
then the
passed.
motion fails. Okay, nobody's gonna second it, so it fails. All right, so what do you wanna do? If you don't wanna fine him $72.50, what do you wanna do?
can pass the gavel to me, can't he, if he wants to
Yeah,
say.
if he-
Yeah, but I'm
pass
gonna
it
get
down.
outvoted, so why would I do that?
What are our choices? We can either table the motion, do nothing, and
No.
the fine still,
If we do nothing, then the fine stands.
That's
right.
right.
So that's, if we don't have a motion, then the fine stands.
Well, if nobody makes a motion, the fine stands, period.
Okay.
So if there's no motion.
So if somebody wants to
So-
make a motion to
Well, can
reduce
I
it,
ask
yeah.
Victor what his,
Gentlemen, I don't think y'all remember what all went through to make this thing happen.
Yeah, I do.
It was resistance, resistance, resistance. And finally, after a long period of time, it happened. Okay? There was no confusion as far as I'm concerned of what the gentleman had to do. He just didn't do it. So that's what I remember.
Is there a number between 0 and 72.50?
Not as far as I'm concerned.
Anybody else got a number between 0 and 72.50?
no, I mean, the number is not the issue in my mind. My mind is whether or not he's given conflicting information. And I honestly don't remember the details of the.
Oh, I remember very clearly.
I'm on Victor's side. I was at the hearing. I mean, I was at that meeting, and I know.
Yeah. Me too.
I'm just a little concerned about the alleged confusion between the conversation with the.
There's no confusion in the fact that we hear the same thing tonight we heard
Right.
way back then.
I
It's
don't
the
think I
same
ever
confusion.
heard Jason Catalano's name mentioned before.
I don't-
And
Should have been.
the
presented
allegation
first.
is that Jason said, you don't need a building permit. And he had been told to get a building permit, so that, to me, indicates he was confused about something.
We don't know, that's
Well, that's hearsay as far as
What
I'm
I would,
concerned.
Yeah, for one
I'd like to
thing.
know from Mac, because I don't know if I heard him clarify that. Was Jason right or wrong when he made that comment?
Well,
Wait a minute,
You have,
You
at
can't-
first, you have no real evidence of what Mr. Castellano said or
exactly.
did not
It's
say.
hearsay.
Pardon me?
You have,
No, I just want to know, did the man need a building permit or did he not need it?
I believe he needs a permit for that. He would not need one for a dune walkover, but he would need one for a deck. And he had placed this deck in the side setback also, which we would not permit.
Mac, clarify something for me, because every dune walkover I've been involved with, we get a DEP permit, but then you go to the county to get a permit. That's what has always happened. I've done probably 10 walkovers, and I've got a permit from the county every time.
There is no building permit review at planning.
Right.
And that's probably what Jason told him.
Right.
Not that there's not a building permit required, because Jason doesn't have the authority to determine what happens in the building division, which is a completely separate division from planning. All building permit requests come through planning first, before they're eligible to go to the building department.
And that was true in January of this year?
Yes, it absolutely was.
Okay.
Does anybody see the possibility of confusion with that?
Nope.
I don't know. All right, well then.
Thank you, Mac.
Would we choose not to make a motion, or does someone want to reduce the fine?
I would make a motion $5,000, that makes $7,500.
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion?
But I'll vote for it.
Okay, well, all those in favor?
Aye.
Raise your hand. All those opposed? So it carries 5-2. So the fine is set $5,000.
for the record, gentlemen, I would suggest that we do a roll call, Jennifer do a roll call vote so
Yeah.
that we have it correct in the
Sure.
record.
Okay. Do you want to do it now, Jennifer? All those in favor, raise your hand.
Well,
you want to call
You're gonna
it.
do
Oh,
roll
you
call.
want by-
She's
by
gonna ask
name.
Mr. Bowman and Mr. Porter.
Okay, so.
No,
Mr. Porter?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Aye.
Okay, so we're done, right? That's $5,000 fine, and you have how long to pay it? Is that part of the order?
You'll need to make another motion to do that.
Well,
I mean,
do we usually do that?
I usually give them a time period to pay.
Okay, well, in the motion, there was no time period
I said
allotted.
15 days,
How long?
15 days.
And do we need to vote on this motion then?
Yes.
And a
Second.
roll call as well?
It needs a second. It depends on whether or not you got.
All right, so I got a motion and a second. 15 days, all those in, no, I guess we'll call the roll.
Well, no, you just have to say, if, the only reason for the roll was because you had nays.
Yeah,
So if everyone agrees with 15 days, you don't need to roll call.
all right. Are there any opposed to the 15-day?
You need to vote. So-
Okay, all those in favor of giving him 15 days to make the payment signify by saying aye. Are there any opposed? All right, so he's got 15 days.
Did he leave?
Yeah, the guy's a crook. The guy's a crook.
I remember the thing.
I listened to the,
Yeah, I know.
meeting's over. Whoa, I better do that. Meeting's adjourned.